Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show today, we're going to talk about powdery mildew and how to deal with it and how to identify it.
And cold frames, what they are, can you build them, how to use them. And then we also have guest radio show host and author Jessica Walliser on.
Plus your garden questions. All that starts right now. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. So glad you've taken time out of your day to join us on the program. Whether you're in Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Southeast Michigan, Banning, California, or listening around the country or around the world via the Simple Radio app, the TuneIn app, or through the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com under the Radio tab on podcast replay or in-studio video replay. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
You can find all of our content at that website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, where there's over 1,400 garden videos, short and long format, of in-garden and in-studio of this particular radio show of all past shows. The executive sponsor of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is Power Planter.
Planting conditions are always favorable with the Power Planter Earth Auger. No matter what the job is, Power Planter has the right size for you. Simply attach to a drill and let the Power Planter do the work for you. Create planting holes fast and efficiently with ease. No matter the soil type, it does the job effortlessly. Increase your root to soil contact. Leave the shovel and the spade in the shed. Hand welded and made in the USA. We offer a lifetime warranty on product defects. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com.
You want to get a hold of us, you want to talk to us, you want to submit a question for us to answer, you can do that through the Ivy Organics communication hotlines.
Ivy Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents, protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces for use on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, visit ivyorganics.com. You can send us an email through the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant email inbox, and the email address is twvgshow@gmail.com. You can also send us a text on the Instant Access Ivy Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard Instant Access text hotline. Send your text questions to us at 414-368-9311. Again, that's 414-368-9311.
In the garden, we have a lot of issues, diseases, bugs, and problems that we face each and every year. One that is almost a regular visitor to our gardens is powdery mildew. And the term or the name implies exactly what the issue is. Mildew, or a powdery substance that looks like it's appearing on a lot of your vegetation. What is powdery mildew, Holly?
Powdery mildew is a fungal disease, so it's not like harmful to you. It's harmful to your plant. You know you have it because I'll list off the plants here. You'll have these white spots on them, whitish, grayish spots, and then when you touch it, it is powdery. And
then as the untreated area continues to develop, the white spots now encase the entire leaf structure, which is suffocating the plant, preventing the sun from photosynthesizing through the plant's leaves.
It stops the photosynthesis process. So the leaves of plants are what absorb the sun rays to make that photosynthesis
What
happen.
are some of the plants in which we can identify or have or expect or may see problems on?
So I just want to mention that this plant is host specific. So if it's on your zucchini plant or something, it's not necessarily going to spread to your grapevines. So that's something you want to keep in mind. So typically
But it could spread from zucchini plant to zucchini plant, but not from zucchini plant to another plant necessarily.
Right.
Okay.
So this affects things like squash, so any sort of squash vine plant, including pumpkin, and then zucchini, if you have grapevines. There's something called courgettes, which is basically zucchini. And
I think that's an English term.
I think so, too. Yeah.
Courgette.
Yeah, courgette. And so it's the squash plants, even watermelon. But most of the time people see it on their squash. It is possible to see it on your cucumbers or beans, too. But typically it's like those...
Some grasses and flowers.
Yep.
So once we identify that we have powdery mildew, what is the cause of powdery mildew?
So people typically get it near the end, or not the end of summer.
Mid to late
Late summer. So what happens is that we are, even though it's still quite warm out at that point, near your end of summer, close to the end of summer, mid to late summer. But we're moving towards fall. We're moving towards shorter days and cooler nights. So what happens is that we still get that heat during the day. We still get that humidity during the day. But then we get those cooler nights and we have longer nights. So we're moving towards our winter solstice, our fall equinox. And so our days are just getting shorter. You're not noticing it, but your plants can notice it. So what happens is that we may have these plants in the sun in July, where they're going to dry out after the summer solstice. But as the Earth moves towards what's known as the fall, is when these nights get shorter or longer, days get shorter. So it's because of high humidity in the air, cooler nights, and less daylight, essentially.
So the humidity acquires onto the leaf structure and is unable to dry out by the time night falls, just like in a bathroom. If it's not ventilated or there's not good air circulation, mildew will begin to form on surfaces. Same thing applies in the garden on these plants.
That's correct, and that's where the issue comes from. So it's because of too much
You
water.
may not physically see, there's water droplets on my zucchini plant or bean or cucumber, but there is that microscopic layer of moisture that is able to start to develop this mildew once the night falls, and it cannot dry out properly like it would earlier in the year when the nighttime temperatures are very warm and the days are very long.
That's correct. So that's what's causing it.
And it can be detrimental if not treated, because, as we spoke about moments ago, it will suffocate the plant out. So
the biggest thing is that if you crowd your plants. So a lot of this goes back to when you start your plants, and this is good to keep in mind for next year. You can look for disease-resistant varieties. Your local University Extension would have a list of that. If you are just like, I'm going to plant whatever I like, that's okay too.
There are varieties that have been hybridized, and some that are heirloom that have been discovered that are resistant to powdery mildew.
Right. And so that's another thing is you also want to water at the right time of day. So you want to make sure you're not, in this case, you'd want to water during the morning if you can, because if you water at night, you're going to have your plants wet, you're going to increase the chance of mildew.
Well, watering, it really goes back to last week's conversation. How is the water applied to the garden?
Well,
above or at root zone?
If you're applying at root zone, you shouldn't have to worry about it.
Right, exactly.
So you don't want to crowd your plants, that's good, and then you want to give your plants enough sunlight. All of these plants are full sun plants, so you want to make sure that you're providing them full sun, especially if powdery mildew is an issue for you year after year. Maybe you didn't know what it was and now you know what it is, and you constantly get it. Then you want to make sure that you are planting them so that they receive enough sunlight so they can dry off.
If you do not have enough sunlight in the area in which you're trying to grow, put something in that area in which can survive and thrive in partial shade, and spend your $3 and save your frustration. Go to the farmer's market and buy the produce in which you're unable to grow because of the lack of sunlight in your growing environment or backyard.
Right. You want to avoid over-fertilization, and that is... You want to avoid over-fertilization for many reasons.
We're going to focus the reason on the powdery mildew today, but yeah, it has economic or environmental impacts of over-fertilization.
Well, right, and it just boosts your plant too much. Your plant then is going to grow essentially too fast, and that
it's jacked up on energy drink essentially all the time with too much fertilization.
So that's why you want to avoid over-fertilization with these plants, because if they start growing these leaf structures too large, too fast, then you're going to increase your problems. So there's a few things you can do for powdery mildew. The biggest one is to, once you have it, not saying to avoid it, not to prevent it, but once you have it.
Once you have it, if you have it only on a certain few leaves, let's pick zucchini here because that's the easy description. If you have 27 leaves on your zucchini plant and 4 of them are infected, you can remove those 4 leaves, cut that stalk down at the junction of the base of the plant, and get rid of them, throw them in the trash. Be careful as how you remove those, transport those infected leaves to the destination of the trash can, because those spores, if you're just dangling across the garden, those spores can fall on adjacent plants and begin infecting those plants as well. Those spores can stay in your hands, your gloves, when you touch other plants.
Right, and you can remove up to 25% of your plant. So
it may seem shocking and detrimental. it's fine.
It's okay. Your plant will be okay.
Yeah, the plant's going to go into a non-recovery or survival mechanism, but just a growing because it's got rid of those infected parts of the plant.
Right. So, yeah, you can remove up to 25% of the leaf structure. If it is just one plant and you have lots of those plants planted, just yank the plants out. But that's typically not the case, but you can do that. All right. So you can use baking soda to help clear off this. What it does is it breaks up that powdery mildew, and this seems to be the most effective way.
Now, it's not just sprinkle powder baking soda.
So what you're going to do is you're going to mix 1 tablespoon of baking soda with a teaspoon of some sort of garden oil, so you can use neem oil. And then you would do 1 teaspoon of soap. But when we say soap, we mean something like not a detergent soap, so something like dish soap or Dr. Bronner's.
Okay. Because of the compounds in which the soap is made from, it affects how it bonds to the plant.
Right.
That soap is the bonding agent which holds the baking soda to the plant to allow the breakup of the mildew to occur.
Definitely.
Okay.
So that's what you want to do, and then you mix that with a gallon of water. You spray on your plants every 1 to 2 weeks.
Water is what's causing the problem here.
But you need a vehicle to get this onto the plant.
Okay.
So if you do this, you probably want to do this sometime, like in the morning if you can, because that way it'll help evaporate. So you do that every 1 to 2 weeks. You want to spray your leaves thoroughly. This is the most recommended. This is the safest for your tree to remove this. You're not going to mess up any new growth that's possible that's growing. Like, you don't have to be as careful. You just want to make sure you are coating the plants and that you're being smart and vigilant about
And the baking soda disrupts the pH balance of that mildew, is the chemistry that is going on a microscopic level. What other ways in which we can utilize home products to do that?
So you could use mouthwash or vinegar. And mouthwash, like, just go to the dollar store and get yourself a bottle of mouthwash. You don't need to use
the high alcohol volume mouthwash.
The cheap
the
stuff,
El Cheapo stuff you bought on sale.
But with the alcohol in it.
Okay.
You want the acid. Same thing with vinegar. You want to use like an apple cider vinegar, not like white vinegar. But when you do this part, using that, if you spray new foliage, you're going to have problems. So that's why the baking soda is recommended, because if you spray your new foliage with it's neutral.
Okay.
So this is acidic. So if you're using mouthwash or vinegar, just be aware, do not spray that new foliage. But it's 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. Spray the plants every 1 to 2 weeks.
And you can find these recipes online. growingagreenerworld.com.
Powdery mildew.
Powdery mildew is where you can find Joe Lampa, host of the PBS program, who's been a guest on on our show several times, has a great article and breaks it down to the recipes of all of these and what he finds works best and ones to avoid in the garden.
So you can use milk, which nobody really exactly knows why it worked for us, but this is what Joe Lamp also said, but something about the naturally occurring compounds in milk, they will combat the disease and
regular milk, not lactase-free milk, the regular milk that you get at the store.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
If you don't drink milk, if you don't drink dairy milk, just
do the powdery, or do the baking soda.
Yeah, do the baking soda, or just maybe you want to try milk and just go get yourself half gallon of milk. So you're going to do 1 part milk to 2 parts water. This would be a weekly dose as well. It just helps boost the plant's immune system. So you don't want to overdo it, but you definitely want to do something.
So there's just some of the ways in which you can deal with the powdery mildew that many of us will face in our garden. It's the white substance that begins to occur on the plants later on in the year. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about cold frames, what they are, what the benefits they are, and how you can build your own to extend your growing season. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show.
.24/7, 365. The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com has all the gardening information you need, videos, digital magazines, replays of shows, and more.
Spending time scrubbing pesky dirt off your hands after gardening? Use Workman's Friend Superior Skin Cream with added barrier protection, creating a protective layer on your skin surface, allowing for easy cleanup, all while moisturizing and healing your skin. Non-greasy, fragrant-free, and fast-absorbing. Apply first, get to work, wipe clean. This friend has you covered for whatever you're getting into. Visit workmansfriendbrand.com.
Beans and Barley Market and Cafe, a neighborhood specialty grocery store for the east side and greater Milwaukee area, where you can find all you need, from fresh produce to bakery to organic frozen dinners, from wine to fresh squeezed carrot juice. A health food store with hundreds of products, vitamins, supplements, bath and body items, magazines, cards, books, and a knowledgeable staff. Catering available, open daily at 8 a.m. The restaurant serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week with a menu of good, healthy, homemade food, including vegetarian and non-vegetarian specialties. 1901 East North Avenue, Milwaukee, 414-278-7878, and online at beansandbarley.com.
Do you want fresh produce delivered right to your neighborhood? Check out Tree Ripe Citrus Company. Find out where to pick up quality produce at tree-ripe.com. They have beautiful, tasty peaches and juicy, sweet blueberries. If you're tired of the non-taste peaches and the bad blueberries from your local grocer, Tree Ripe has what you need. They come right to a stop in your neighborhood, fresh off the truck, right from the source. To find locations and schedules, visit tree-ripe.com. They're in Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, and right here in Wisconsin. Tree-ripe.com is your go-to place for the freshest produce around.
The Handy Safety Knife is a patented high-quality knife that's worn like a ring, so it's always conveniently at hand and very easy and efficient to work with. That's why you'll find the Handy Safety Knife at work in a wide range of industries and applications. Learn more at handysafetyknife.com.
Use coupon code WVG to get 10% off and free shipping, one-time use only at handysafetyknife.com. If you stop, they'll stop. This garden tip is sponsored by BioSafe, organic solutions that are effective. They offer an array of eco-friendly products, from plant food to fertilizer to one-of-a-kind herbicides, organic weed killer. Grow stronger, healthier with BioSafe. Visit biosafe.net to learn more and save 10% on your next order by using coupon code TWVG at checkout. Keep harvesting your fruit and vegetables when they are ripe. Leaving the crop unharvested on the vine will signal to the plant to stop growing and simply work on production of seeds internally. If you stop picking, they'll stop producing.
Do you seek safe, effective nutrition solutions to boost your health and quality of life? Standard Process is your trusted whole food supplement manufacturer with 90 years of expertise. Our third-generation family-owned company proudly grows nutrient-rich ingredients at our certified organic farm in Palmyra, Wisconsin, enabling us to produce high-quality whole food solutions that change lives. For help identifying the best supplements for you, find a local healthcare professional today at standardprocess.com/patients.
Take the pain out of planting with the Pro Plugger 5-in-1 planting tool. Step, twist, pull, and you're ready to plant. Digs perfect size planting holes. Soil gets stored in the tube and empties from the top. Helpful for weeding. ProPlugger.com.
When it comes to bulk landscaping materials, Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center is where everyone goes. Whatever the project, we have the materials you need with over 40 varieties to choose from. Soils, mulches, gravels, decorative stones, fresh cut sod. Blue Mills has these products in stock and ready for easy pickup or fast delivery. So what are you waiting for? Now is the time to get your yard back into shape. Stop in and pick these materials up or call us for delivery today. Nobody does bulk landscaping materials better than Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center.
Blue Mills, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Ivy Organics, Power Planter, Root Assassin, Beans and Barley, BioSafe, Bobex, Pomona Universal Pectin, Pro Plugger, Standard Process, Tomato Snaps. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joy and Holly Baird.
Dr. Earth is committed to clean and healthy gardening through creating cutting-edge natural and organic-friendly products. Based on research and innovation, after 28 years, they are the leader in the organic lawn and garden industry. They do not use ingredients such as biosolids or composted household waste or synthetic chemicals. Instead, they have manure-free fertilizers, organic soils, insect control, and liquid fertilizers. If you want to grow the best quality food organically to feed your family, that is the founding principles of what Dr. Earth is all about. They have experts to find the most innovative ways to help you grow your best organically. Visit drearth.com for more information on where to buy.
When most people, or I'll take that back, there is a group of individuals in the gardening world that feel that gardening happens here in the upper Midwest, Memorial Day to Labor Day, and the season's done. But whenever there, and then the rest, and there's other ones who try to get the most out of their garden all season long. Plant very early, plant very late, try to utilize those seasons of the cool weather crops.
And then there's those people who extend it even further.
That build or purchase cold frames in order to maximize the time in which they can grow plants outdoors. Now, what is a cold frame, first of all, for those who are unfamiliar with that particular term of the gardening
So it's not a
world?
greenhouse. It's kind of like a mini greenhouse. It's a framed area encapsulated where you can put it over your ground. You're not growing in it. You're putting it over the ground. Well, you're growing in it, but it's not like a raised bed with a cover over it. You're putting it over the ground, typically.
Okay.
Or if it is a raised bed, you would raise the sides up higher to put this cold frame.
A box with a lid.
A box with a lid, essentially, is what it
Okay.
is. Yeah. But a lot of people think it's a raised bed, and then you're putting a lid over it. That's not the case. It's a box with a lid.
You can customize a raised bed by putting hinges and putting a lid on top of it. But if you're going to construct a raised bed, or a cold frame, that is, there's many materials in which we can do it. And a cold frame can be a variety of different sizes. We want to keep in mind, what are we growing in it? How tall does the plants in which we were growing in it get? And how much space do we need? Because in the cooler time of the year, let's say you have a cold frame that you've made out of 2x8 or 2x12 lumber. If it's 20 foot long by 5 foot wide, there's a lot of airspace, and it's got a lid, and we'll talk about the opaque material which we put on top of that to allow sunlight to come through to allow the plants to continue to grow. We're not growing these in a box with no sunlight. How much? That's a lot of airspace. A 5 foot by 20 foot by 12 inch high box contains a lot of airspace, and in the cooler times of the year, that is air gets very cold, even though it is inside of essentially a box that you're trying to keep warm enough to sustain life on these cool weather plants.
So you'd want to keep it like 4x8, 4x4, something smaller.
Okay, first of all, we're growing in these in these cold frames, and we'll talk about materials and the types of items in which we can build them with. We're growing cool weather crops, and we're starting them early in the midsummer. They're not physically growing in November.
No, you can start them in September.
Okay, but they're not physically growing in November, December, January.
No, you're not going to. So what you're going to do is, first of all, you need to build a cold frame or obtain a cold frame. So
Okay.
let's get to that.
Okay.
So you can use wood. We built ours out of old wood and a window. You can use wood. You can use straw bales. If you use straw bales, you might have to take and insulate it a little bit more, the straw.
Because it
doesn't meet like wood does. Yeah. So use that, and there's lots of tutorials on YouTube about building cold frames, all about cold frames. So definitely, check that out.
Don't just watch one and go, I got it. Watch about a dozen, because there's a lot of information, good and bad. And people will say, hey, I did this and it didn't work, or I did this and it was the best thing ever, that type of thing. So
right. So you can find lots of information. If you don't have an old window and you want to make a window, you would use it's a poly plastic drop cloth that you can get from your local home store.
3 mil or 6 mil.
No, I'm not talking like home decor store. I'm talking like home
Big box store.
Big box store. Yeah, like home repair store.
In the paint center, paint department.
Yeah, so and that's pretty cheap to buy. It's not expensive at all. So you would build your cold frame. Sometimes you can maybe find used ones, whatever. So you want to make sure you're doing that. Now, some people will paint their cold frames black because during the day it absorbs that heat from the sun, and then it releases it into the cold frame at night. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to.
Painting the outer portions, not the plastic or the window on the top.
Like those sides or
Okay.
whatever. Okay, so that's what a cold frame is. That's how you make a cold frame. That's how you...
There's no real wrong way to do a cold frame, but there is guidelines in which allows you to have the best success in growing that cold frame that you're constructing.
And also, if you're concerned about it not being warm enough, you could also take, some people will do this, they'll take soda bottles or milk cartons or milk jugs or whatever, paint those black, and then put those...
Fill them with water.
And then that way it'll be the same effect.
Yeah, during the day it absorbs the heat of the sun in that item, and at night it releases that warmth back into the cold frame. Now, we're talking cold frames. There are other things called low tunnels. That's kind of the same thing, but we're going to focus on the building and the construction and the materials for the cold frame and not necessarily the low tunnel.
So, yeah, right. So if you want to do this now, get started, definitely...
Go around on junk day. You can pretty much find what you need.
True story.
True story.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's what you want to, this is something you want to keep in mind. So then, come like mid-September, you want to get these plants established. So if you're growing root crops or greens, that's typically what's going to be grown in the cold frame, so you can harvest them year-round, is the root crops and greens. So things like carrots, beets, radishes, and then any sort of green, kale, collards.
The radish is 30 days, pretty quick.
Chard.
Yeah.
Right, so the radishes you might have, you can wait a little bit longer, but yeah. So
now,
what you want to do is you want to get these plants established so that when it starts to get colder out, you can harvest, you can have that continual harvest.
And if you've started kale can get to 3 foot tall. Now, obviously, most people will not construct a cold frame that's 3 foot tall in order to accommodate the height of that particular.
Make a multi-level cold frame.
Right.
Yeah.
But
don't do that.
But you can get it, at 12 or even 18 inches high, and create a nice little environment in there for that plant. And as you're harvesting, Swiss chard is another one, as they get to touching that plastic or that window at the top, you can harvest those particular leaves and then allow that plant to regenerate or sustain the structure of leaves that it currently has on it. Again, November, December, January, if you're fortunate enough to do this and get them to grow through that particular time, they're not going to put on new leaf structure every week, because inside of that cold frame, it may be 4 degrees outside. That cold frame may be 32 or 33 degrees. So we're sustaining life. We're not the plants are not growing. A great book in which you can follow a lot and get a lot of good information is Nikki Jabor's The Year-Round Vegetable Garden. She's in Nova Scotia, Canada. She does this year-round every year, grows a tremendous amount of produce over the winter months inside cold frames, and has been doing this for a decade with no problem whatsoever.
Right.
And Nova Scotia is a cold place.
It is a cold place. They have less of a growing season than we do here in the upper Midwest. So
what else do we need to know about cold frames here?
So you can grow these hardy vegetables, so that's what's cool. Now, say you don't want to attempt this. Say you have a yard and you're like, I don't want to mess with my yard during winter. I just want to have winter and be winter.
Okay.
What you can do is you can still build this cold frame and you can put it in one spot in your yard, and then when it's springtime, it's going to start to warm up the soil faster.
Also, you could build it and then put your cooler weather crop plants, start them from seed in trays, root maker trays, and put them in that cold frame, and essentially you've got a mini greenhouse that you don't have to utilize a grow light or the space indoors. Now, you have to be careful what ones you put out there, but your broccoli, your cauliflower, your kale, your collard greens...
Those are pretty hardy.
Very hardy. Mm-hmm. Start them out there, and then as that warms, then the seed will germinate, and then you can harden them off.
So you can kind of have an additional grow seed starting space. So that's another advantage to the cold frame.
It works very, very well if you go that route, and again, you can start your cooler weather crops direct seed sowing, carrots and radishes and other parsnips, in the ground there in the spring, too.
Another thing to keep in mind is you may have to vent it during the day. In the upper Midwest, we'll get this in December, it'll get up to 45, 50 a lot. You're going to have to vent that, because otherwise you're going to bake your plants. Come January, maybe not so much, but then as we get an occasional warm day here or there, you're going to have to vent it. You have to keep in mind that it's basically like your plants are in a tent.
Right.
Essentially, and they could kind of suffocate if it's too hot.
It's 40 degrees ambient temperature, but inside of that closed area, it's 70, 80, 90 degrees, because the radiation of the sun has warmed that air, and there's no way of escaping. So you want to keep that in mind as well. Well, Holly, it is summertime, and we have visitors in the garden, and those are those nasty Japanese beetles, and they are wreaking havoc on our plants, our rose bushes, our pole beans, and all of our vegetation.
If you're looking to successfully control beetles without damaging the environment, look no further than Beetle Gone from Phyllom BioProducts. Derived from a naturally occurring soil bacteria, Beetle Gone is the only organic solution that successfully controls beetle invaders. Just mix the powder and water and spray in your plants. Once ingested, these targeted pests will stop feeding and die. And since it's an organic BT product, you know it's a great choice to use on your fruit and veggies in addition to your ornamental flowers and trees.
Not only is Beetle Gone, does it work, but the good thing about this product, it is safe to use around your beneficial insects such as ladybugs, butterflies, and bees, and has no issue with water toxicity. Beetle Gone from Phyllom BioProducts.com. Phyllom BioProducts.com. PhyllomBio products.com. Get $10 off for limited time when using coupon code 10OFF, TENOFF. Jessica Walliser up next.
Got a question? Email the show at twvgshow@gmail.com.
Power Planter is a family-owned earth auger manufacturer. The Power Planter Earth Auger will transform your garden experience. It helps homeowners and professionals complete almost any planting or digging project faster and more efficiently than using a shovel or a spade. Power Planter Earth Auger creates loose dirt when drilling holes, giving your plants better root-to-soil contact to help reduce plant loss for healthier, more beautiful trees, shrubs, flowers, vegetables, and grass. All of our augers are hand-welded and made in the USA, lifetime warranty. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com.
Flame Engineering, home of the Weed Dragon, the perfect propane torch kit for home and garden use. For killing weeds, no need to pull or spray. 100 other uses. Find out more at flameengineering.com. Use coupon code WVG19 to get free shipping. Root Assassin, a garden tool that does all the root functions with its advanced shovel that has serrated edges on both sides. Find out more information at rootassassinshovel.com. The Norwalk Juicer is the best cold-pressed juicer on the market. Studies have shown the Norwalk Juicer produces 50 to 100% more juice than other juicers. And juice from the Norwalk is higher in minerals and nutritionally superior. Not only do you get more juice from your produce, but also better quality juice. Check it out at norwalkjuicers.com. Use coupon code GARDENTALK to get free continental U.S. shipping on the Model 290 juicer.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar, honey, or any alternative sweetener you'd like. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Available at most natural food stores and online. Never question your garden soil again. Know what's in your soil with confidence. Professional grade soil test for the home gardener. My Soil Savvy has the easiest soil test on the market. Ship it to them, get your report, emailed with nutrients recommendation, and grow happy, healthy plants. MySoilSavvy.com. Use coupon code TWVG19 and save 10% at checkout.
Shield and Seal vacuum sealers and the highest quality vacuum sealing products, unique black and clear and all black bags, protecting your produce and product better than traditional bags. Find out more at shieldandseal.com. The bottom of your tomato is black and sunken in. You've got blossom and root rot, and here's how you fix it. This Michigan Garden Moment is brought to you by migardener.com. With over 450 varieties of heirloom and organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents a pack. Find out more at migardener.com. So you have a tomato that's ready to harvest. You pick it, and it's black and rotten on the bottom, and when you cut into it, it goes all the way through the fruit. This is blossom and root rot. It's not a disease necessarily. It is a deficiency. It is a lack of calcium that has been not able to be picked up by the plant in order to fully develop the fruit correctly. This occurs when the soil is too dry. You may have plenty of calcium in your soil or more than you ever need, but if the soil is too dry, the plant cannot access that calcium. It's locked out until it rains or you water. then the calcium that is available in the soil is able to uptake into the plant to fully develop the fruit correctly. People often say use Epsom salt, 2 tablespoons to 1 gallon. Water the plant and it will fix the problem. It fixes the problem because you're watering the plant and releasing and unlocking the calcium that is in the soil. Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, does help for bigger blooms and greener plants, but calcium is not magnesium sulfate. By doing this, you will fix the problem on the next generation of fruit. It will not fix the fruit that is developing that is deficient of calcium and have the blackness on the bottom. Remove those fruits right now so the plant can focus on the healthy production of the next generation. Keep the soil damp like a sponge, not soggy, and you'll prevent this problem from happening for the rest of the year. This Michigan Garden Moment is brought to you by migardener.com. With over 450 varieties of heirloom and organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents a pack. Find out more at migardener.com. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Clyde's Vegetable Planting Chart, Dharmaceutical, Dr. Earth, Flame Engineering, Handy Safety Knife, Hydrobox, Wisconsin Greenhouse Company, M.I. Gardner, Outpost Natural Food Co-op, Rootmaker, Soil Diva, Blue Mills Landscape and Garden Center. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Blue Mills Landscape and Garden Center is having their second annual Blue Mills Summer Market. 4 dates, August 24th through September the 14th, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll have over 40 different vendors of crafts, produce, food. They'll also have music there, and Holly and I will be there as well on a couple of those Saturdays. And you can find all of that out and more at BlueMills.com, and their location is
4930 West Loomis Road, just south of Layton and Greenfield. You can call 414-282-4220, or you can go to BlueMills.com.
We were there last year. It's a really great activity for you, the family. Come out and see us, as well as what they have to offer.
This is horticulturist Jessica Walliser from SavvyGardening.com and KDKA Radio in Pittsburgh. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Holly, let's go to the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Hotline and bring in Jessica Walliser.
Jessica Walliser is an author, gardener, radio show host. She's the host of the Organic Gardener on KDKA, or the co-host, in Pittsburgh. She's a blogger, columnist, and all-around horticultural and botanical enthusiast. She lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the program, Jessica.
Thanks, Holly. Hi, Joey. How are you guys?
We are doing well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us on the program and enlighten Holly and myself and all of our listeners.
It is my pleasure. I'm always happy to join you guys. We always have a good time.
Absolutely. So let's start with this. We've had a tremendous issue with weeds in our garden. I've spent time weeding prior to planting, and it seems like I have just encouraged the weeds to come with a garden fork and removing the roots. That haven't seemed to work very well. How do you deal with weeds, and what is the best method that you have found to get them out and keep them out?
Excellent question. Well, I suppose in a lot of ways it depends on the type of weed that you're dealing with. Certainly annual weeds. Here, my biggest problem is Pennsylvania smartweed, which is actually easy to pull out. It's just a pain because it reseeds everywhere. So with annual weeds, it's super important that you never let them go to seed. So even if you have a big weed issue and you can't get to hand pulling them, at least, weed whack them or mow them down so that they don't set seed and make more problems for you the following year. If you're talking about perennial weeds like Canada thistle or really horrible ones like bindweed, I always like to do the barrier method. So in my vegetable garden, in areas where that's a problematic, situation, before I plant, I'll put down 10 sheets thick of newspaper, and then I will cover that with usually shredded leaves or straw, and then I'll plant right down through it. So I'll cut an X in the newspaper and plant down through it and leave it in place the entire season. And that really sort of forms like a physical barrier to keep those weeds from coming up through it. And that works best for me.
That's a really good Definitely a really good tip.
And people will often say, oh, I'll just use the glyphosate, and that'll kill them. But the problem that the glyphosate has, it stays in the soil and makes the soil extremely toxic for what you're trying to plant. These are not genetically modified crops, so that's what people often say.
Now, for people growing in small spaces such as urban gardening, especially vegetables, what is some advice you can give for one that is new to gardening in those small spaces?
Yeah, so, if you're gardening in a small space, or a large space, it doesn't matter. If you're new to it, you want to start small. So don't go out and put in a giant vegetable garden or install 10 raised beds or something like that. Start with one raised bed or start with a few containers on a sunny patio or deck. And really just sort of dip your toes into the experience of vegetable gardening. And then once you have a little bit of success, then you can gradually increase the space. The other bit of advice I would give is don't get discouraged, because not everybody, even long-time gardeners, we fail at things sometimes, right? I'm growing this great little container watermelon called Sugar Pot, and I've grown it 3 years in a row. And 2 of the 3 years, I've had success, and then the other year it didn't work out so well. So, there's going to be times that things don't work the way you want them to, but don't let that stop you from continuing to try again. And certainly for small space gardeners, varietal selection means everything, because if you're just growing in a small area, a little raised bed or a little pot, you don't want to grow a tomato that's going to grow 8 feet tall. You want to grow a tomato that's going to grow 18 inches to 24 inches tall. So choose your varieties really carefully.
Well, you speak about failure, and you stand next to a guy each Sunday morning on KDK radio who has grown for many, many years and is not able to grow garlic. At least the last time we spoke to him. Has he been able to achieve that accomplishment yet?
If you're talking about Doug, he's an excellent garlic grower, but what he can't grow for the life of him are onions.
Onions, that's what it is.
Onions. And I keep telling him, I said, Doug, you need to test the pH of your soil, because I'll bet you the pH is too acidic, which, inhibits the absorption of phosphorus and the availability of phosphorus in the soil. And as you and I know, bulb crops like that, root crops, love phosphorus. And it doesn't matter how much you add. If the pH of the soil isn't right, the plants can't access it. So I keep telling him, but he won't listen to me. He never listens to me. What are you going to do?
Well, and Shauna Cornata, you talked about plants dying. Shauna Cornata, she's been on the program, and she has quoted that you have to kill at least 1,000 plants before you're considered at least a decent gardener. So I think we're all
I love that.
all qualified in that realm somewhere or another. Many people do not realize you can grow fruit in small spaces, and you've got several great books that illustrate this. What are some great fruits to grow in containers, and why do they work so well?
Yeah, this is one of the main reasons why I wrote my most recent book, which is Gardener's Guide to Compact Plants. And that's because there's all of these amazing compact fruit, vegetables, shrubs, perennials that stay small and compact. They're out there on the market, but so many gardeners don't know about them. So, for example, if you're looking to grow compact fruits, I would recommend the dwarf raspberries and blackberries as a good place to start. There's a dwarf raspberry called raspberry shortcake that gets only about 2 feet tall. I have a raised bed of 4x8 raised bed of them in my backyard, and they're fantastic. They don't take over the space. They stay really small. You can grow them in a pot. There's also certainly dwarf blueberries, like jelly bean and top hat and blueberry glaze, and those guys stay small. They're self-fertile, so you only need one plant, not two. You don't need a cross-pollinator. Strawberries are always a great idea for small spaces. And then there's the fruit trees. There are now some super dwarf fruit trees that are not grafted, so you don't have to still prune them to keep them small. They're a genetic dwarf. And my favorite is a peach called Pixzee, Pixzee, and it gets only 5 feet tall and a spread of about 4 feet or so, and it's beautiful in like a 50-gallon pot or 35-gallon pot on the patio, and it produces full-size peaches. It's amazing.
So when you talk about these dwarf plants, now these are hybridized, or are these heirloom, or a combination that we're finding these and we're not hybridizing these?
It depends. It depends on the particular variety that you're talking about. Some of them are hybrids. Some, in the case of Pixie, it's a genetic dwarf. So it happened by a chance mutation, and somebody's, I don't know the true story of it, the background of it, but usually what happens is you have a true genetic dwarf like that in a sampling of plants grown, and one just happens to have that trait. And then that from there, it's vegetatively propagated, so that trait is then in all of the offspring. They're cloned. They're taken like a cutting of it, right? Vegetatively propagated. So they're not grafted onto a dwarfing rootstock. Instead, that's actually the true genetics of the plant, which is extra cool because you don't have to worry about protecting a graft union or the rootstock sprouting or something like that.
It's just what nature did, and we're able to continue on that benefit that it's provided for us. Exactly.
And there's a nectarine too that's a true genetic dwarf. It's called Necta Z, Necta ZEE, and also another true genetic dwarf. Really cool.
Okay, so when we talk about small space gardening, many people think of urban settings, maybe people who live in a city where they have a small yard, or they have a balcony or a patio or something that they want to grow on. But maybe there's people out there who have a huge yard, but they don't want to grow on that huge yard. What are the advantages to small space gardening, as opposed to if you do have a lot of space available? What are some advantages that are applicable to just about anybody?
Yeah, Holly, that's a great question because, I have 2 acres here, but I grow lots of these compact plants that I talk about in Gardener's Guide to Compact Plants. And one of the biggest reasons for me, especially when it comes to the trees and shrubs, is it's no pruning required, right? So you don't have to go out every spring and, prune your viburnums or your lilacs or your rhododendrons as soon as they're done blooming in order to keep them small and compact so that they fit in your foundation planting. Instead, we're looking at varieties of these plants that stay naturally compact and fit beautifully in those spaces. So it's really all about the reduction in maintenance. And same thing with some of the compact perennials. Maybe you have a space around a pool or around your patio or deck, and you don't want to interfere with your sight line, or you don't want to have to go out and stake and support those plants because they get so floppy. So if you grow a more compact variety, you're eliminating that maintenance task as well.
And just because you grow in a small space with a compact variety does not mean that plant's not going to produce. A lot of these are very prolific producers, and you can still get quite a bit out of that very small space.
Absolutely. And, in the case of a lot of the perennials, their sort of cultural habits are the same as their full-grown cousins, right? So the varieties or other cultivars of that plant. So let's take Monarda or bee balm as an example. The compact varieties, they bloom just as long as the full-size varieties. If you, cut them back after they bloom, they'll produce many times a second flush of blooms, just like the full-size one does. So you have all the bloom power or all the fruiting or vegetable production out of the plant, but it's just in a neater, tidier package.
So your new book, The Gardener's Guide to Compact Plants, just like your other books, phenomenal publication, great pictures, great information, and we always know when you got a new book coming out because the mailman delivers it to our home, which is really cool. But can you tell us more about what's in the book and what our listeners can expect when they open the book up to learn about growing in small spaces and compact areas with compact plants?
Absolutely. A lot of it is sort of an extension of what the great questions were that you guys asked me today. I talk about selecting and maintaining compact plants, what the difference is between, these varieties and full-size varieties. I also talk about where they come from, how are they bred, how are they selected, why do we look for these traits, and where can you buy them, right? Where do you find them on the market? There's a resource section in the back of the book that will help you with that. I also have a section on using compact plants to solve problems, like what do you do if you have a slope in your garden, or you have a lot of shade, or you want to, you have a neighbor who, has junk in their yard and you want to block that view. So what kind of compact plants do you use for privacy screening? And then the whole back part of the book is profiles of specific trees, shrubs, perennials, fruits and vegetables and herbs that are varieties that are small in stature that are perfect for gardeners who either want reduced maintenance or they want to grow in a smaller space.
It's definitely, I think for a lot of our listeners, it's it's very applicable to them. So how can we find out more about you? Obviously a radio show host, but you're an author. Where can people get all of your great information?
So I would recommend they go to one of my two websites, and the first is a more informational gardening resource website, which is Savvy Gardening, SAVVY gardening.com. And if they want to know specifically about me, my lectures and classes and things like that, they can go to my personal website, which is jessicawalliser.com.
Well, Jessica, we greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us on the program and sharing a lot of your knowledge with us and our listeners.
Oh, it's always so much fun to join you guys. I love watching your YouTube videos and getting to know you better, too.
Absolutely, Will. Thank you very much for that.
Jessica.
And when we come back, it's going to be all about your garden questions and our garden answers. You can always submit a question via email at twvgshow@gmail.com. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show.
Send your questions in now to the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Garden Instant Access text hotline at 414-368-9311. That number again, text 414-368-9311 and send your garden question in.
Garden seeds do not have to cost a fortune, just 99 cents at migardener.com. Now with over 450 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, and organic flower, vegetable, and herb seeds available year-round. Pay less and get more seeds. Shipping as low as $2.50. That just makes sense. Go to migardener.com for seeds and garden needs, tools, and special blend fertilizers. migardener.com. It's that simple. Family owned and operated.
Here at Outpost Natural Foods, it's not just that we're community-owned that sets us apart. It's the fabulous foods we sell. We celebrate Earth Day every day by offering our customers the finest natural and organic food selections in Greater Milwaukee. Outpost local farmers and vendors provide our stores with a delicious selection of fresh seasonal produce that you won't want to miss. Outpost stores are located in Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, Bayview, and Mequon. We're a real Milwaukee original where anyone can shop and anyone can join. For the whole scoop about Outpost, we invite you to visit www.outpost.coop.
Pharmaceuticals essential oils are high grade, very pure, and high in quality. They have synergized blends made with the finest raw materials. For more information and to order, visit Pharmaceuticals.com.
The new way to support your tomatoes, wrap it and snap it. TomatoSnaps.com. Do you have a problem with deer or small herbivores eating your vegetation? There is a natural solution that is safe for your pets and family. Bobex is the answer. An environmentally friendly solution to protect your plants, will not wash off, and is guaranteed. Bobex Deer was independently tested against 9 known competitors and rated 93% effective, second only to a physical barrier. Bobex can be used on all types of ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. Ask for it by name at your local independent garden center. Find out more, visit Bobex.com. BOBBEX.com.
Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center offers an awesome selection of high-quality garden and landscape products. We have just the plants you're looking for: annuals, perennials, veggies, herbs, and more. Plus, you can always count on us to answer all of your questions and offer expert advice. Blue Mel's also carries the largest selection of bulk landscape materials in the area. Enjoy a beverage from our coffee shop while your kids run around in our huge playground. Join our growing list of highly satisfied customers. Visit the garden center that offers everything you're looking for. Visit Blue Mel's today.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Eco Garden Systems, Row Maker, Shield and Seal, World's Coolest Rain Gauge, Big Fats Hot Sauce, Chapin International, Drip Garden, Norwalk Juicers, Nunu Healing Ointment, Phyllom BioProducts, Soil Savvy, Tree Ripe. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, your home for Garden Talk Radio with your hosts Joey and Holly Baird.
You have a question, you can get a hold of us on the IV Organics Communication Hotline.
Communication Hotline. IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents. Protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces, for use on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, visit ivorganics.com. You can send us an email through the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant email inbox. That email address is twbgshow@gmail.com. Or you can text us on the 3-in-1 Plant Guard Instant Access Text Hotline with your question at 414-368-9311. That number again is 414-368-9311. We had a couple of questions.
Yes, we had questions here. In regards to canning, what temperature should the water be when I'm putting the water in the jars that contain the beans before I put it in the water bath canner? Well, first of all, you shouldn't water bath can beans, green beans. That should be a pressure canned deal because the bottom of the jars continue to break.
Okay, so what you want to do is when you are canning any item, you want to use hot jars, hot food, hot liquid, hot whatever, into your hot jars into the hot canner.
She's pickling these green beans, so that's okay in the water bath.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question. I have issues with my beet leaves, and they're turning purple. If you could let me know what it is and what I can do to fix that, that would be great. Thank you.
So purpling leaves typically is a phosphorus deficiency, and so all plants need phosphorus. This helps grow the root and the fruit developments of your plants typically, but it also, lack of phosphorus is going to show purple leaves.
As well as purple stems and other, it has different effects on different plant life, so that's a good starting point to figure out the deficiencies in your soil. From Twitter, we get a question. Long Twitter name, I'm just going to name it James. Asks, love your show, listen every week. Any truth to the myth of watering hot peppers to make them hotter?
Okay.
Well,
so
thank you for listening each and every week. We appreciate that.
Okay, so the thing is that it's going to be the variety. You whatever you plant is it's a variety.
It's
quite
true.
opposite. Less water, less nitrogen, and then leaving them on the vine longer will intensify the heat.
The capillaries in the pepper. But yeah, it definitely depends on the variety of pepper, because some is very mild and others will take the paint off your car. That type of heat intensity. How is the best way to deal with? Well, when people are eating hot pepper, and the chef has to use respirator and gloves and goggles to prepare it.
Right.
There's some heat to it. How can we deal with slugs in the garden?
Okay, so you can introduce predators. You could attract things like garter snakes.
Don't scare them off,
Yeah, garter snakes are a predator to snails. Garter snakes are not harmful to you. They're good. They're friends of the garden.
Right, but if you see a snake, it's going to make you step back. You're not going to go over and try to pet it. But yeah, garter snakes are very beneficial to the garden. They work very well. You can also set traps out for the snails.
Is like what you would do with slugs is you take some beer, and you bury a little small
pan. Any specific kind of beer?
Well, slugs seem to like IPAs. I don't know about snails.
The hoppier type.
Yeah, they like the hoppier type. So what you do is you take your little pan, your little dish, and you bury it soil level, and then you put your beer in there, and they're going to be attracted to that. They're going to fall in, and then they're basically going to drown.
Here's the thing. When we place the beer in the container level, put it away from the issue so the slugs and the snails will go away to get drowned in the beer. What is the best way to store Jerusalem artichokes over the winter? In the garage, is that okay, or in paper bags? Good question. We have a tremendous amount of artichokes as well. They're growing in our garden. Jerusalem artichokes are a root crop that is less starchy than a potato, better for diabetics, but check with your local physician for that. The best way to store Jerusalem artichokes is to leave them in the ground, but obviously here in the upper Midwest, the ground freezes solid. So there's a couple of things in which we can do, and this applies for carrots and parsnips as well. You can take and cover the bed with leaves, trim back the top growth, and cover the bed with leaves with the Jerusalem artichoke, 3-4 foot in depth. What that is doing is creating a refrigerator state in the soil, keeping it very cold, but preventing the soil from freezing. The second way in which you can store your Jerusalem artichokes is to take a bucket, Put 2 inches of soil in the bottom, just out of the garden. Layer a layer of Jerusalem artichokes. Put another 2 inches of soil, and all the way up to the top of the bucket. We take and store ours in an unclimatized stairway up to our attic. What you can also do is store that bucket in an unclimatized garage or shed, somewhere where it's not going to freeze solid, but it's going to be a very refrigerated state. And then you can dig them up out of the bucket when you want them. The other thing we have found that works somewhat decent is to harvest the Jerusalem artichokes and then take and put them in an airtight bag in the back of the fridge or in the crisper. That seems to keep relatively well, but not as long as the soil in the bucket in the stairwell of the attic. Tom in Milwaukee wants to know, is it safe to use the condensation water that comes off his air conditioner? Well, let's go to Ben Bartley. He is the Farm Property Supervisor at Standard Process. Standard Process is your trusted whole food supplement manufacturer for over 90 years. To help identify the best supplements for you, find your local health care professional. Go to standardprocess.com/patient.
Hi, this is Ben Bartlett from the Standard Process Organic Farm. Today we have a question from Tom in Milwaukee who asks if it's safe to use the condensation water from his HVAC unit to water the garden. Actually, yes. The condensation is a great way to reutilize water that otherwise would go to waste. So the water is not run through the unit, so it doesn't pick up any chemicals, and it's still safe to use. Another way to collect and reuse water is to store the rainwater off your roof in barrels and then reuse it to water your garden in the dry season. A third way, and really the easiest way, is to build your gardens in a place, if possible, to take advantage of those downspouts and just have those gardens get irrigated every time it rains, which seems to be a lot this year. Good luck.
Before we get into what's coming up next week on the program, Holly, remind them about the executive sponsor.
The executive sponsor of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show is Power Planter. Planting conditions are always favorable with the Power Planter Earth Auger. No matter what the job is, Power Planter has the right size for you. Simply attach to a drill and let the Power Planter do the work for you. Create planting holes fast and efficiently with ease. No matter the soil type, it does the job effortlessly. Increase your root to soil contact. Leave the shovel and spade in the shed. Hand welded and made in the USA, we offer a lifetime warranty on product defects. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com.
Tune in next week on the program. We're going to talk about microbial life under the soil, as well as odd garden remedies that actually work. Our guest will be Ann Cotta-Scott with Preserving the Harvest, plus your garden questions. Tell your friends and family to tune in. Do not miss the program. Miss any portion of this program or want to revisit it in its entirety, you can do that in a couple of different ways. One, by going to your favorite podcast-providing website and searching the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. You can also go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, clicking on the radio tab at the top of the page for full length, or the highlight tab on the right-hand side for segments of all past shows. Until next week, for Holly Baird, I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.
You have been listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. Tell a friend and join Joey and Holly again next week so we can all grow together. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show is a production of the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com in association with WI Garden Media Broadcasting, live from the WNOV 860 AM and the W293CX 106.5 FM, Courier Communication Studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.